There was a house near my college campus that locals called the Hollow, not because it was haunted, at least, not in the usual sense, but because it looked like something unfinished, something that wasn't really there. No one lived in it. No mail in the box. No lights ever came on. Just a frame of a house with boarded up windows and a for sale sign that had been bleached white by the sun. To us philosophy majors, it became a running metaphor. The Hollow House was the mind unexamined, the life not yet lived. One fall evening, after a long night of debating Camus and sipping lukewarm gas station coffee, my friends Ezra, Lila, Ramon, and I found ourselves driving past it. Ezra, the kind of guy who thinks chaos is a form of art, casually said, "We should go inside. Like, really experience the absurd." And weirdly, we all said yes. We parked a few houses down. It was late. Fog had rolled in like a stage curtain. The street was quiet in the way that makes your ears ring with your own heartbeat. I remember thinking, if existence is absurd, maybe this is our theater. We approached the house. Up close, it looked even more hollow than from afar. No real door, just plywood nailed into an entrance. No number on the house. Not even graffiti, which somehow made it eerier. Ezra found a cracked window on the side, and with too much ease, he pushed it open. Lila climbed in first. She was always the first to test reality, like she wanted to catch it slipping. Then we followed. Inside, the place smelled like sawdust and mildew. The floorboards groaned, almost like they were remembering something. We split up, the way people always do in stories right before things go wrong. I headed toward the staircase. Upstairs was nothing but beams and insulation, a space in transition, or maybe a space that had given up. I heard Ramon downstairs talking to Lila about how space is just a mental projection. Ramon always said the body was irrelevant. We are only thought, he'd claim. So I came back down, half smiling, half spooked. Ezra met me at the foot of the stairs. "You've got to see this," he said, motioning me toward the back of the house. We found what must have been meant to be the basement entrance. No door, just a yawning dark square in the floor and a set of stairs. I went down first. The air got colder, denser. It was pitch black, but we had our phones. As I scanned the room, my light landed on a chair, and beside it, a mirror, tall, cracked, but standing. There was a message written across it in black marker. "This house thinks you're not real." I stared at it. My mind swirled with every theory I'd ever read: Plato's cave, Descartes' doubt, Berkeley's idealism. Then I noticed something in the reflection. Someone was sitting in the chair behind me. I turned around fast. Nothing. Just the chair. But in the mirror, they were still there. No face. Just a silhouette, like the shape of a person who had never quite made it into being. That's when Lila screamed from upstairs. Then Ezra's voice, "Run!" I didn't ask questions. I bolted. Up the stairs. Out the window. Onto the street. We ran like our shadows were chasing us. Back in the car, breathless and wide-eyed, we tried to make sense of what happened. Lila said she walked into a room and saw herself, but older. Ramon swore he heard someone whispering philosophical paradoxes in Latin. Ezra just laughed. "I think we met the void," he said. For days, I couldn't stop thinking about that mirror. The silhouette. The words. "This house thinks you're not real." What if it wasn't just a creepy message? What if the house wasn't haunted by ghosts, but by ideas? By unrealized versions of people, the lives we never lived, the selves we chose not to become. That house, in its hollow stillness, was a mirror, and maybe the scariest thing of all is to look into something empty and see yourself there. I never went back. I graduated, moved away, changed cities, but every now and then, when I catch my reflection at night or when the world feels paper thin, I think about that house, and I wonder if it was never really empty. I used to work for a small local moving company during the summer before my senior year of college. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid well, and I got to meet some strange people with even stranger homes. One day, we got a call from a woman, mid-60s, soft-spoken, who wanted help clearing out her late uncle's house on the outskirts of Brookvale. She told us the place had been empty since the 90s. He'd gone missing, just vanished, never declared dead, never found. Apparently, the family just left the house alone after that. Until now. When we pulled up to the property, I got this immediate, heavy feeling. It sat crooked at the end of a gravel path, hidden behind a wall of pine trees. Windows boarded, shutters rotted. One of those houses you look at and instinctively think, something bad happened here. It was just me and Carlos, my co-worker. We went in through the side door after she handed us the keys and drove off. Inside, It was like stepping into a time capsule sealed shut in 1994. Faded floral wallpaper, a couch covered in a plastic sheet, a TV that still had one of those VCR DVD combo units stacked on top. The air felt thick, like the house had been holding its breath. We started boxing up stuff in the living room, old photo albums, knickknacks, lots of religious icons. Carlos went upstairs while I stayed on the first floor. That's when I noticed the hallway closet had a rug that didn't quite reach the wall. I tugged it back and saw a wooden handle, a hatch. Now, I know what you're thinking. And yes, I hesitated. The woman never mentioned a basement. There was no indication on the floor plans, but curiosity got the better of me. I pried it open. It groaned like it hadn't been moved in decades. A steep staircase led down into pitch black. I called Carlos. He came downstairs and asked what I was looking at. There's a basement, I said. I think. He frowned. Nah, the lady said no basement. Maybe it's a root cellar or something. I shrugged, flipped on my flashlight, and stepped down. The air changed the second I passed the threshold. Cooler, damp, not a single cobweb, just smooth stone walls and concrete floor. It wasn't a basement, it was a room, a long, rectangular room, and at the far end, there was a chair, one of those old wooden chairs, sitting under a single bulb hanging from the ceiling, but the bulb wasn't connected to any wires. It just hovered. I turned to Carlos, but he hadn't come down yet. I stepped closer. That's when I saw the carvings in the floor, not just symbols, letters, words, over and over. Stay, 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 stay. Then, I heard breathing. Not mine, not Carlos. It was low, rasping. I whipped around. Nothing there. The breathing stopped. I backed away, but the room stretched, like it got longer. The chair was farther now. The hatch above me wasn't there anymore. Just smooth, uninterrupted ceiling. I ran forward, flashlight flickering. My steps sounded wrong, like I was running through syrup. Then, Carlos grabbed my arm, yanked me up through the hatch. It slammed shut behind me. We didn't say anything. We didn't finish the job. We left. We never called the woman back. But here's the thing. That house? Burned down 3 days later. Caught fire in the middle of the night. No one around. No electrical hookup. No gas line. The fire department said it started in the basement, the one that didn't exist. To this day, I don't know what I stepped into, but every so often, when I'm lying in bed, I hear that rasping breath, just for a second, like something is still waiting for me to stay. This happened about a year ago, not far from where I live. There's this narrow country road that barely anyone uses anymore. It used to connect to an old lumber town that's long since vanished, but one house still stands out there, deep in the woods. People call it the Red House, but not because of the paint. It's because of what happened there, supposedly. I never believed any of that. I'd driven past the overgrown path that led to it dozens of times. But one overcast afternoon, with nothing else to do, I decided to see it for myself. I didn't tell anyone. Just grabbed my flashlight, a water bottle, and walked down the forgotten trail. The forest was dead quiet. No birds, no wind, just the crunch of leaves beneath my boots. After maybe 10 minutes of walking, I saw it. A crooked, 2-story farmhouse buried in the trees. Its red paint had long faded into a rust-colored smear, and vines had crawled up to swallow the windows. But it was still standing. I approached the front porch, which sagged under my weight. The door was slightly open, like it had been waiting. Inside, the air was thick, like breathing through a wet rag. Everything was warped, water damaged, moldy, but what struck me was that the furniture was still there. Chairs, a dining table, even dishes still sitting in the sink. It looked like the family had just vanished. I started walking through the place slowly. Floorboards groaned under my feet. The air smelled like mildew and something metallic. The living room had an old recliner facing a dusty TV, and on the wall behind it were a bunch of framed photos. Most of the faces were scratched out, like someone had taken a knife and carved through them. I didn't linger long. I went up the stairs. They bent with every step. I was sure one would snap. At the top, there were 3 doors, one open, 2 closed. I peeked into the open one first. It was a child's room. Broken toys, a bed frame missing its mattress, crayon drawings still taped to the wall, but they were all drawn in black. Stick figures with no eyes, surrounded by shadowy shapes. I was about to check the other rooms when I heard something. A soft knock, not from the walls, not from the stairs, from downstairs, at the front door. I froze. My first instinct was to call out, but I didn't. Instead, I crept back down, holding my flashlight like a weapon. When I reached the bottom, I saw the front door was closed. I hadn't touched it, and I definitely left it open. My stomach dropped. I turned to the window to get out, but just before I could move, I heard another knock. 3 slow knocks, from the other side of the door. I couldn't move. I couldn't even breathe. Then, from behind me, another sound. A creak, from upstairs, from one of the rooms I hadn't opened. I bolted, ran for the window and climbed out, scraping my hands on the broken frame. I hit the ground running and didn't look back. I didn't use the path, just ran straight through the woods until I saw the road. When I got back to my car, I locked the doors and sat there, trying to calm down. That's when I saw it. In the rearview mirror. Someone, standing at the tree line. Not moving, just watching. I turned around, and they were gone. I drove home in silence. Didn't sleep that night. I checked the local records a few days later. No one owns that house. No one has since 1975. It was condemned after a fire that killed the entire family, except the youngest child. He was never found. I haven't gone back since. And if you're ever out on Timber Road, don't stop. Thanks for watching. If this made you think, or helped you sleep, consider subscribing for more deep dives into the human mind, scary or morbid stories, and the philosophical forces that shape our world. Until next time, stay aware, stay positive, and remember, you are only human.